All right. Thank you for staying with us. This is still Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA. And to begin our conversation on roadmap on plastic waste in Nigeria, here is a background report put together by correspondent Ibrahim Hamidu.
Plastic waste is choking the environment. Nigeria is one of the largest generators of plastic waste in Africa, with millions of tons of plastic ending up in her oceans and waterways each year. But there are signs of hope. Across Nigeria, communities are coming together to tackle plastic pollution. From recycling initiatives to beach cleanups, Nigerians are taking action to protect their environment. The key to solving this problem is a comprehensive strategy. Governments, businesses, and individuals must work together to reduce plastic waste, increase recycling, and promote sustainable practices. The government has also taken steps to address the issue, from banning single-use plastics to launching national cleanup initiatives. There is a growing recognition of the need for action. So what can you do to make a difference? Concerned persons insist action must begin immediately to reduce individual plastic use. There is need to recycle more, as well as support organizations working to tackle plastic pollution. They also believe that together Nigerians can create a cleaner, greener country for future generations. And that's the bottle half full. Join our guests as they present ideas that will proffer solutions to transform the current state of plastic waste in Nigeria.
All right, Ibrahim Hamidu, giving us a background there to start our conversation on plastic pollution action roadmap that is being taken or been initiated by Nigeria. And earlier on, of course, I came with a number of...
You came prepared.
I came prepared. Victor is helping me with the right words. I actually came prepared, as you can see on the table. This is the crux of what we are discussing this morning. How all of this...
I thought the cameras will get...
Yes, we just got all of this. If the camera can get them, they're all here. You know, if in case you don't understand, plastic pollution, they're all here right in front of us. This, sorry about that, and all of this. Yes, so that's the crux of our conversation this morning on Good Morning Nigeria. So let me quickly introduce. We have quite a number of guests, but some are still being expected. Dr. Abubakar Bahija is still being expected, and of course he is Director Pollution, Federal Ministry of Environment. But we have from Kaduna, Dr. Asmao Ahmed, Acting Director, Center for Climate Change and Geographical Information Science, Kaduna State University. And there she is, Dr. Asmao Ahmed. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Nigeria. Thank you for having me here.
All right, and we also have joining us via Zoom from Lagos, Victoria Wadoka, who is Corporate Communications, Public Affairs and Sustainability Lead at Nestle Nigeria. It's a pleasure to have you join us on this conversation.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
All right. Good morning, Victoria. It's great to see you. Let me start with you. Okay, just Victoria, just hold on. Just before we come back to you, one of the guests has joined us from Ibadan, Adejoke Lasisi, and founder CEO Planet 3R, and she's also known as Ibadan Girl. Omo Ibadan Kini Sore. I hope I got that correct. Adejoke Lasisi, thank you for joining us. So we call you Ibadan Girl, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you so much for having me on the program.
Victor, do you have any problems with that?
No, why should I?
All right, so we call Joke Ibadan girl. We refer to her as Ibadan girl. So let me come back to you, Victoria. Wadoka, Corporate Communications, Public Affairs, Nestle Nigeria. And I'm starting with you because you are involved with sustainability. And each time we talk about environment and pollution, sustainability is the next word. So sustainable development. I'm just wondering the nexus. Can you take us through the nexus between sustainable development and plastic pollution?
Okay, once again, thank you very much for having me here. And it's interesting that we're talking about this topic, very important topic for us to discuss, the plastic pollution. Now, what is the nexus between that and sustainability? So sustainability speaks to our ability to meet our needs for today without jeopardizing the needs of future generations. That means that we must do things in a way that protects the planet, even though we're meeting our own needs. So that's what sustainability is all about. And if we look at the issue of plastic pollution is about environmental pollution as well. Is the management of post-packaging waste gone bad that is causing the pollution that we have. And I think that this is a challenge that we have with managing most of our waste value streams. So if we are to get environmental protection right, if we're going to get sustainability right, we must manage our waste properly. That is an important thing to do. And so where's the nexus here? The nexus is that if we do not manage our plastic waste right, if we do not manage that process right, if we do not get a roadmap right to resolve the issues, we're going to jeopardize the ability of our planet to support the next generation. That's where the nexus is. Yeah.
Stay with you, Victoria. I'm just wondering, as you spoke earlier, which is easier, producing water and other consumables in containers that could be more sustainable, could be better for the environment, or focusing on how it is disposed?
Okay, so there are three things to do, and none of those steps can work without the other. So the first thing is to ensure that we're reducing the quantity of plastics that we use in our environment, and I'll come to tell you how we can make that happen. The second thing is also ensuring that we have an efficient collection process that helps individuals, organizations to have the right behavior when it comes to plastic, which means that they must learn to reduce, they must learn to recycle, and they must learn to reuse plastics. So we must create systems that support that. So what's the first thing that we need to do? We must work together to reduce the quantity of plastics that we use. The second thing that we must do to ensure that this happens is to ensure that we're increasing the framework or the environment to increase recycling. That is something that we must really do. We must increase recycling, because what happens then is that when I use plastic, I'm able to take it back, recycle it, and reuse it in my production. And then we must learn to reuse plastics in our homes or in our environments or wherever we're using those plastics. For instance, there are plastics that you use, you use it for another use, you upcycle it, or you recycle it, you use them for other things. So these are three things that must happen. And why do I say that? We can find a way to reduce the quantity of plastic that we use in the environment. One way of doing this is to ensure that we're actually recycling more. And when you're recycling more and using this within your production, then you're increasing the collection, you're encouraging the behavior. Now, I'll tell you a journey that Nestle has come to. For instance, the Nestle Pure Life water bottle now includes 50% recycled plastic. That means that we've collected back from the environment all the plastics that we've used, the same quantity of plastic that we've used, and we're using it in our bottles over again. So if we do not have those three areas working together efficiently, then we're not going to be able to reduce the plastic waste pollution that we see that is a problem within the environment. Now, the last thing...
Victoria, just a moment. Thank you for the points that you've raised. And that's why I'd like to bring in Dr. Smile into this conversation, because a lot of people will be wondering, and it's not, I don't think it's coincident that, all our guests today are women. Probably that's because, women do a lot of, relate more with the subject matter for today. We are the ones that go to the shops. We are the ones that do the takeaways, the lunch. And I've got quite a number of those items here in the studio. I'm sure Dr. Smile, you can see the plastics. So what is wrong with this? People would like to know what are the consequences of having your drinks in plastics like this, or packaging your food, in things like this. So, can you speak to us on this? So let's understand what the problem is really.
Well, I think this isn't a sustainable practice. The best way to go about it is having sustainable and innovative way of getting our food and drinks in more sustainable materials. Like before I came into the studio, I was sipping my coffee in a recyclable cup, which I always take with me to the university in my office every day, so my student can testify to that. I've never liked using all the single disposable cups, because I'm more like a sustainable person, coming from geography and sustainability. I encourage my students, because it says you lead by example. So I always use this kind of reusable cups to take my tea or coffee on the go. So I can always take it back, wash it, and...
Allow us to see it. Can you allow us to see the cup? Can you allow us to see?
Before the end of the show, I will get it, because it's in my car. Yeah, okay. So likewise, being innovative is a way of reducing this single disposable materials, which aren't biodegradable and causes of pollutions, which are harmful to our health, the marine environment, and the environment. So I think campaign to the local community is one of the best way to get things being eliminated, especially the use of this plastic waste, which in turns we have to bring innovative solutions. For example, if you can use this recyclable cups, or if we can use paper bags to get all your things inside instead of using styrofoam. Now, I was just coming to the studio, and I saw this lady selling akara on the road. All she does is give it in a cellophane bag. Now, how about if we bring out an alternative ways, like a sustainable approach to use of the plastic bag? For example, we can get like paper bags, which are a best practice used in the advanced countries. And then we have to create awareness to these people to let them know that this is a more sustainable way of using recyclable materials, which are degradable and would now cause less harm to the environment and the human health. I think it will go a long way in curbing the use of all these non-recyclable materials, which will now reduce the impact of them in the environment.
With you, Claire had asked earlier, for instance, part of the awareness that we seek and which we are doing right now is to tell the ordinary Nigerian why his bottled water, becomes a problem. Why I can't just take bottled water, why I can't eat in plastics, like we call them now generally, and just be fine with it. Why is it harmful? How is it harmful?
We can sensitize the general public to let them know how harmful it is. Because, by laying them on the ground, putting them into the waterways, like in the marine environment, if our marine animals eat this, they get to die. Even if our animals on the street get to eat cellophane, most of them die. And they're major causes of cancerous diseases in the society. Initially, all this cancer isn't something that is a hot topic, but most recently, we've seen that cancer is on the rise. And those things are coming from all the excessive use of these cellophane bags and the excessive use of all these materials that are just wasted on the ground. So I think being innovative and getting to sensitize the general public to get to know the effect of it and how it affects the environment, the human health, and the marine environment is very necessary. Now, there are very innovative ways of doing that. We can do through, we could be creative through, for example, Nifty Cox, which is an approach to narrating your scenario through storytelling or visual storytelling.
Dr. Asma, thank you. We'll get back to that. As you can see, from the video clips, already we are beginning to have an idea, of what plastic pollution especially means and the impact it's likely to have on the environment. But let me bring in Ibadan girl now. That's Adejoke Lasisi, Omo Ibadan. Omo Ibadan, speak to us. I mean, again, bring this to reality for us, because this is what we do. What are the consequences of our action? Are they real or just imagined?
Thank you so much once again. Good morning, everyone. And thank you to the two speakers. They've actually talked about the impacts that plastics is actually having on our environment, and how collecting those past plastics are very important. So one of the things that I would like us to know first is that, the reason why plastic came into being in the first place. Plastic actually came because, they thought of, like, we are cutting so much trees to actually make paper bags, so much paper, and what can be alternative so that we don't cut down trees. So, sometimes while trying to solve some problems, you're actually creating a new one. And I believe that when those nylons, when those plastics were when they were created, they didn't know it was going to cause so much problem like this, that people are not able to go into, undo it. Like, I wouldn't say that plastic is bad entirely, because when you look at it, it's actually solving the problem of, not having to cut down our trees again, deforestation and everything. But at the end of the day, we are not able to manage it. We are not able to, we just use it to pollute the environment and causing problem on our health and environment as well. So when we look at all these problems, you now say that, what can be done? What is the alternative? Because when you tell average Nigeria right now that, do not be drinking pure water because, so that you don't cause so much problem. Many people do not have access to clean water. And this is one of the things that, when this is one of the things that we always talk about, that when you want to, ban something or stop a particular something that you feel like is causing problems, stop plastic and everything, is there an alternative for people? So saying that, we want to stop pure water, we want to stop table water, do we have access to clean water from other means? The answer, we already know that in average Nigeria might not able to have access to clean water. And by not drinking clean water, it's really causing a lot of things. When I look at this problem in my community, especially the way people dispose, the way people just drop these nylons on the street, in the drainage, and that was actually what baited why we started Planet 3 in the first place. Because we realized that so many people do not have the ability to be able to segregate their waste from the base. Because when we look at sustainable practices, believe me, it is not something that is cheap. It is not cheap at all. Many people, nylons that they are using to sell akara or on the street and everything is much cheaper than buying a paper bag or something. And they know their audience, they know their customers. So sometimes, it's all about, government too needs to do a lot to this thing. So if they really want to say that, we want to stop this problem, So, looking at my environment, I say, okay, no, this problem is there. How can we create opportunity from the problem that we see around? How can we take this waste so that it doesn't end up in the landfill, it doesn't end up in the ocean? Then we started using it to create beautiful products, eco-friendly products for the same people in the community. We make school bags for them, like the clothes that I'm wearing. This part now, this is made from pure water sachets. So, all these things, we need to make sure that, in as much as we are trying to live sustainably, we now need to make sure that we find a way to reduce how we use this intake of this, plastics, so that it doesn't cause much problem, and how we pollute the environment with it. And one of the things that I always try to talk about is solving the problem of SDG 1, that is no poverty, Sustainable Development Goals. For us to really achieve those goals, we need to solve that first one first. You can't expect somebody that lives in a room, in just a room, family of 4 or something, to be segregating their waste. And that is where the problem lies, because they don't even have enough space to say, okay, this place I want to put my plastic, this is where I want to put the organic waste, this is where I want to put the paper. So all those things are not there. So we need to tackle what is really, really, really important, or what is causing that pollution in the first place. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Ibadan girl. And I'm beginning to wonder, yes, as individuals, because of maybe the level of poverty, individuals may not be able to separate waste and say, okay, this is, but I've seen countries where out there, wherever you go, there is a place for plastic waste. There is a place for different kinds of waste. But it begins with the general orientation. It begins with the nation. And so are we there where we segregate outside of the home? Because it's what you see out. If government says, for instance, we are going to be segregating this waste here, that waste there, and the individuals will now have to follow. When you go out, you put this there and put that there. Are we ready? Are we at that level yet?
Thank you so much for that question. Honestly, we are not at that level yet. And why do I say that? For instance, there was this waste disposal stuff that was put in one junction like that. But could you believe that many people were not even putting waste there? They were putting shit inside it. So, like I said, a lot of things have to be figured out first. And aside from the fact that, we create awareness, orientate people about why these things are very important for us to have, like making sure that we segregate our waste from the primary use, we need to make sure that we take care of so many things. To see developed countries, they have a way. It's not that they don't use plastics there. In fact, when you go to their malls, you see a lot of sachets, products that are into package. In fact, I would say that they have a lot of package than us, but they find a way to make sure that they don't pollute the environment with those wastes that is being like consumed from those things. And sustainable practice, it is possible, but it is not easy. So we need to be deliberate about it. That, okay, we really want to make it possible. And again, one of the things that I feel like we can actually achieve that, it's government enforcing the laws that they put into being, because these laws are available. Like, okay, when you just throw the waste by the roadside, a lot of people just package it inside nylon and just dump it by the roadside and everything on the express. So you see them there. So if governments, these laws are there, if they can find a way to enforce it, trust me, many people be like, don't let them come and arrest me, or don't let them come and say this. But sometimes, when they know that there's no law, because when you are not enforcing those laws, it just means that there's no law too. So, in as much as government want to enforce the law as well too, we need to make sure that we solve some issues first, which is, I keep saying it, poverty can make a lot of people do a lot of things. Imagine houses that don't have toilets. So where do you want them to? They just take it. They go and drop it in those public space that they provide for people to come and dump, the normal general waste. They need to drop it. And by the time the collectors, recyclers want to collect this waste, trust me, it is not something that is easy again. Because it's not easy for you to be collecting plastics and everything that is already together with the poo and everything. So all these things have to be put into consideration from the beginning. Like, how can people change their mindset? How can we change our mindset? And the only way to change our mindset is to be able to make sure that things are put in place, and we have this not poverty mindset now, but making sure that, okay, this thing, it is our environment together. If we take care of it, it's the impact, the positive impact, we are going to be the one to enjoy it most, and not the government. So we need to have that in mind. Thank you.
Absolutely, Ibadan girl, Joke Lasisi, absolutely. But again, as they say, when you talk about security issues, it's not all the time you use kinetic approach, to resolve issues of, insecurity. You also apply, the non-kinetic. So in this regard, it's not also always that we want to begin to enforce laws, like you rightly said, and everyone who's made contribution rightly said. It's because people are not aware of what to do with their waste, or do not have, adequate knowledge about what they can do, or how they can translate their waste into something beneficial. That's why we're having the kind of the volume of pollution, the volume of plastics dumped into our rivers, the drainage systems and all whatnot. So bringing back Victoria to this conversation now, Victoria, how much awareness, how much do you think Nigerians know on what to do with their waste?
So, how much awareness? I think that Adejoke has spoken to that. The awareness level is really low, and that's something that really needs to be improved upon. But what I have found, I experience in the field, is that while you're creating awareness, there must be the infrastructure that enables people to practice that behavior that you're informing them about. If I know to segregate my waste at home, and I segregate it at home, and the waste collector comes and puts everything together and just picks everything together, then I have a problem, because why did I waste my energy separating it? That is going to be a discouragement for practicing segregation at home for me. So while we are creating awareness, we need to create the enabling infrastructure. If Adejoke also mentioned, if you tell somebody, okay, drink water, drink clean water, where is he going to get the clean water from? So he's going to go towards where the clean water is. So while we're creating the awareness, which is low, we must build the infrastructure, which is non-existent. There are efforts being made in certain places to put in this segregated bins and all of that, where those bins are, then educates that environment and then put the bins there. Working with the Food and Beverage Recycling Alliance, we go into schools to teach children, because we know that if they form the habit early, then the behavior is going to grow with them through their lifetime. But we have adults who are already throwing their waste out of the windows of cars. If you're driving on the streets, you see that all of the time. If you have those segregated bins along the roads, and you're even coming to enforce, they would have seen the segregated bins. They would have been told, do not dump your refuse without segregating them. And then the infrastructure is there. Then you can enforce. So there are three things that must work together. Put the infrastructure in place, build the awareness, then democratize the enforcement, because you must let the law enforcement know exactly what they're enforcing so that they can do it. So education needs to happen at all levels, multi-sector education, starting from young people to the older people. Now, when you teach the children in schools, what we do already there is to put the segregated bins there, and also have a collector come in to pick it up, because sometimes that infrastructure does not exist, the process does not exist. Those who are the practitioners are not available in that neighborhood. So there's a lot of things that need to be done. Access to land, access to space, access to the equipment that you need, access to the infrastructure. All those things must work together while we're going towards finding a solution. Now there is research that is ongoing, and we're talking about recyclable plastics. If plastic is recyclable, then you can use it and reuse it, and then recycle it and use it again. So that way you're not bringing in fresh plastic into the environment. Already that will reduce that. Now, as we continue with our research and innovation to look for more sustainable packaging, we must not go back to cutting down all the trees, but all the research that is going on now, how can you have biodegradable material that is safe? Because one of the reasons why we use plastics to package is that it is safe. We don't want to protect the food until it gets to the table of the consumer, because security and safety are paramount. Food safety is paramount. You don't want to harm anybody's health, so you must protect it. So while we're researching to find a solution for the packaging that we use currently, we need to really think deeper and take more action to provide the infrastructure and the awareness and the processes that we need to manage our plastic waste. Now, there is a policy on plastic waste management which actually assigns roles and responsibilities, including that of the consumer. You and I have to be more responsible in how we use our plastic. The doctor from Kaduna, I think, has talked about using her water bottle. For instance, I do not leave any bottle that there is still some water in anywhere. I do not leave bottles anywhere. If I go to parties, I go to events, I am there with a bean bag to collect bottles even used by other people, because I want to send them for recycling. But that's because I know, and I have somebody who can come and pick it up. All
right, Victoria, thank you. I really apologize for interrupting you. We have a live report from the National Assembly that we must take. But when we come back, I would like you to take up the issue, just like COP, where countries are also asking those who produce the bulk of the waste that pollute the environment to also pay, some damages. I mean, we don't produce these things. You guys, the big companies, the Nestle's, the Coca-Colas, you produce these things. So why put the burden on us, the consumer? So please, you will take that when we come back. The National Assembly here is now ready to receive President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for the 2025 appropriation bill presentation. The exercise is taking place at the Green Chamber of the House of Representatives. Correspondent Ignatius Nkwo is standing by. There he is now to give us a situation report. Ignatius, it's good to see you. It's another, promising day. Just give us an idea of what the atmosphere is at the moment, the environment.
Well, thank you for joining us here at the National Assembly. Well, the atmosphere here is that of anticipation and heightened activities, and it's always like that whenever Mr. President is coming to the Parliament. Well, I was here as early as 7 o'clock this morning, and from the gate, outside the entrance gate that linked between the Secretariat and the National Assembly, you saw a cloud of change, heightened activities, especially in the issue of security scrutiny. In fact, there is increased level of security personnel around from the gate, even within the precincts of the National Assembly. It's quite heightened, and not like the usual faces that you always see when you come to the National Assembly. Now there's a combined force of security personnel. It's always like that whenever the President is coming to the National Assembly. And now there's regulated movement, both from National Assembly staff, the bureaucracy, commercial activities in the National Assembly. All of that has been halted. They've been suspended. It's always like that to give way for the smooth entrance of Mr. President and carrying out the business of the day. Well, today is a big day. Well, in Parliament, presentation of bill and appropriation bill is one of the biggest bills in parliamentary engagement. And then this is one of the biggest oversight of the Parliament on the executive. This morning, well, even from the road that links from the presidential villa to the National Assembly, we've seen that they've rolled the red carpet there. this is one of the first signs you see when you come to National Assembly on a day like this. And when you see that red carpet there, you know that something very significant is happening. And that significant thing is that Mr. President, the Chief Executive, the Commander-in-Chief of the Federal Republic of Nigeria is coming to the Parliament. It's a big visit. It's a big issue. And so it's not taken with kid gloves. So at the moment, everything, you found out in front of the Chamber of the House of Representatives, that is where Mr. President will be laying the 2025 budget. You found out that journalists, cameramen, live coverage crews, all of them, they are out there setting their devices and equipment in preparation for this. And how it's going to work out today is the fact that the Senate, my left side here is the Chamber of the Senate. The Senate will have to reconvene for today's plenary, while the House of Representative members will reconvene in the Chamber of the House of Representatives as well. But after that, they will now adjourn, and then the Senate will now move into the Chamber of the House of Representatives in preparation to receive Mr. President, who we expect will be coming at noon. And why it's the decision to go into the House of Representatives chamber does not have any peculiarity or any significance, but the fact that the Chamber of the House of Representatives is bigger and larger enough to accommodate both senators and House of Representatives. And we do know that on a day like this, almost every senator, every member of House of Representatives will all have to be present to make sure that they take part in this auspicious occasion. So at the moment, every activity is in top gear, and the National Assembly is ready to receive Mr. President to present the 2025 budget. And it's significant to know that this is the third time Mr. President will be visiting the National Assembly as a president. The first time was when he presented the 2024 budget, and the next time was when he came to commission the National Assembly Library, and then he came to address members of the National Assembly. And today's visit is to mark the third time Mr. President will be visiting the National Assembly, and it will mark the first time after the renovation of the chamber that a budget will be presented on the floor of the renovated chamber.
All right, Ignatius, thank you very much. I was going to ask, and I'm actually going to ask now, who is coming with Mr. President? Is there any idea of the size of his entourage, the people who are expected alongside the president? And alongside that, some people are saying that the January to December budget cycle, which has been on for some time, might just be threatened because of the time that this budget is coming. Do you think otherwise?
Victor, you know, the entourage of Mr. President is determined from the executive, from the presidential villa. The National Assembly are the host. They don't determine who comes to Mr. President. But then the letter written to the Parliament usually does not contain the number of visitors, but we do know that Mr. President does not come alone. This is the executive. He is just he is the head of the executive. So we expect that members of the Federal Executive Council, like the Minister for Budget and National Planning, Minister of Finance, and some other top Federal Executive Council members are expected to come along with Mr. President. But, well, we expect to have more entourage this time than when he presented the 2024 budget. This is because when Mr. President presented the 2024 budget, it was at their makeshift chamber, not in the bigger chamber, and then there was restriction of the number of people that followed Mr. President. But this time around, it's going to be in the bigger chamber, and so we expect that that there's going to be larger entourage that will follow Mr. President. Now, the issue of some people saying that the issue of January-December budget cycle have been distorted. Well, from all indications, you know that when this budget is presented today, when it's tabled on the floor by Mr. President, it deemed to have been passed for first reading. And then it will now go to second reading and then public hearing. These are the processes. Now, you find out that between now, today, and the end of December, from all indications, will not be enough to have a good and adequate scrutiny, budget scrutiny of this appropriation bill. And so because of that, it's anticipated that there's no way that it will be passed by January. And if the budget is not passed before the end of December, then the issue of the budget taking off by 1st of January will not be there. But I want to tell you, Victor, it's also very important to know that it's not the issue of in a bid to try to meet up with the January-December cycle. Mr. President will hurriedly present a budget that within the consideration of the budget, another supplementary budget comes in, another amendment comes in. No, but I think what Mr. President is doing, for me, I think is the right thing, that so that once you present the budget, there's no need to hurry. Well, the major thing is not the issue of January-December cycle. If you present a budget that is not people-oriented, that had a lot of drawbacks, and then you start by January, December, and it still does not create the impact of what a national budget is, I think it's not important. But what is important is that Mr. President is bringing a budget that is all-inclusive, a budget that will tackle some issues, that will take care of infrastructure. It doesn't matter if it's December, January. So, but even as a matter of fact, even if the National Assembly, they can take the budget and then pass it in January. And when it's passed in January, implementation can as well start by that January.
Ignatius, if we allow you, you will end up using Good Morning Nigeria's time. But just this last question, and please just do it in 60 seconds if you may. Take us through what happens. Once the president comes in, what happens, and is it going to be a seamless hour with the legislators?
Well, you see, the presentation of the budget by the executive is not just the presentation of numbers. No, it's a very significant engagement between the parliament and the executive. That is why it has a prominent position in the Nigerian constitution, just like other constitutions in liberal democracies. For the 1999 constitution, section 81, subsection 1, stated it clearly that the president will have to prepare a national budget and lay it before the National Assembly. And then when Mr. President comes in, it's just a three-stage process. As soon as he comes in and he's ushered in, the president of the Senate will have to present a welcome speech, receiving Mr. President and his entourage, and then declare the presentation open. After that, Mr. President will have to read his speech, present his policy priorities, and present the times and the breakdown of the budget proposals. After that, he lays the budget. Now, after that, the Speaker of the House of Representatives will have to give vote of thanks, thanking Mr. President and people that came with him, and then assuring Nigerians of their intention of the process of passing this budget. And after that, Mr. President leaves. It's just from the time Mr. President enters the chamber to the time the Speaker gives vote of thanks, it's just within 1 hour. 1 hour or less in some cases, and the event ends. And then everybody takes off. And then National Assembly takes off from there.
Ignatius Nkwo, National Assembly correspondent, many thanks for that input. We probably will come to you again much later in the day on other platforms on the NTA. Thank you very much for your time. Now let's continue our conversation on plastic waste. And Victoria was making a point earlier which we had to regrettably interrupt. So I think you can continue, Victoria.
Then we're talking about the responsibilities, the producers' responsibilities, and our responsibility as producers to take care of the plastic. Yes, we have our responsibility. You know, one is to work together with other stakeholders to ensure that we have the right infrastructure in place. The second is to work together to ensure that we have awareness creation going on. But there are others who have responsibilities as well. So the responsibility is shared even within the National Plastics Management Policy. There's a responsibility for government, especially when it comes to infrastructure, and also they have a part to play in creating awareness as well, and creating the necessary processes and the necessary policies to guide how we manage the plastic waste. But there is a responsibility for those who transform the plastic, those who collect the plastic, those who manage the process of recycling the plastic, and for us, the consumers, we have our responsibility. So there is a multi-stakeholder responsibility to manage this, because if we don't, then we're not going to make it work. Now, the manufacturers like us, what we do is to meet a need within the environment. There is a need for a specific thing, which is why we consume it as consumers. So manufacturer and consumer are the same, right? So if there's no need, then I'm not producing anything. There's a need that I'm meeting in the environment. And now part of my responsibility is to tell you how to use that thing that I'm producing and how to manage the packaging after you produce it. So maybe on some bottles you see recycle me, on some packages you see recycle me. So I tell you how to use that material that I've produced, and I will work together with other stakeholders to ensure that we're creating the ecosystem to make it work. The research, the management of the informal sector who is really involved in this collection, and then maybe Adejoke will be would need them, because I mean they bring back the plastics to her to produce the beautiful materials that she creates. So that informal sector has to be organized, and you know, it's a multi-stakeholder effort, and work is being done, not just within the Food and Beverage Recycling Alliance. There's the National Partnership for Plastics that is also working on this, working together with NESRA, working with Ministry of Environment. So work is ongoing to ensure that we're creating this infrastructure and creating the awareness, but we need to scale, and that's what we're working on now that the frameworks are ready. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Victoria. Let's get quickly to Asmao, to Dr. Asmao Ahmed. And I'm wondering, a lot of issues have been raised already. Clearly, the issue of awareness is there. Awareness needs to be improved. But in the midst of poverty, in the midst of diseases, in the midst of this lack of awareness, how do we take these giant strides with baby steps? Because you will agree with me that you cannot jump into it full throttle without, taking it step by step. Already there is no awareness. We have to start with awareness. But where do we go from here? Full throttle with awareness. But where do we go from?
Thank you very much. Before I really dive into awareness, I have my recyclable cup with me here, which I'm going to share with you. This is what I've been using every day to take my tea, coffee with me on the go. So I will invite everyone to be using recyclable cup instead of using the disposable ones that we use to dilute us on the environment. Now, in the case of awareness, I think we have to take it gradually. It's a gradual process which usually starts with fostering behavioral change within ourselves. This can be done through education and campaigns to the local community. Now, I know this isn't a simple thing to do, but we can do it through innovative methods. For example, taking up citizen science, where people get to sensitize from the grassroots, And also, if we are doing education at different tiers of education, be it primary and lower secondary, where not everyone is aware of environmental pollution or the impact, we can do it through, as I said earlier, Nixie Fox Creative, telling people the scenario, the impact through visual storytelling. That would have a lasting solution or lasting impact to the target audience. Now, if you have a primary school child and you're telling him, stop taking sachet water, it's harmful to you or the environment, he might not relate very well. But if you kind of have a story which is animated or using infographics, and you are now showing how the impact will affect him or whoever, or the marine environment or the environment, that person will be able to relate to what you mean. Or even the layman who doesn't know, who isn't educated and wants to know more about it, or the local people selling the akara on the roadside, can also get these two individual storytelling thing. So these will come from an educational perspective. Through citizen science, citizens get to be aware of the impact or the menace of these plastic materials and their impact to the environment. This will go a long way if we have research organizations or researchers getting to local communities, sensitizing locals, giving them awareness and let them know the importance of it, how to curtail the use of it, how to adopt sustainable practice. I think this will go a long way. Although it's a long-term thing, it's not something that we just see within the blink of an eye. It takes a long time to do it, but with constant awareness, I think we'll get there. Yeah.
That's smart. Thank you. Ibadan girl, Omo Ibadan. Back to you, and my question is just a very practical one. The way we talk about recycling plastic will make it very interesting for everyone. I mean, the way we promote it as very lucrative, recycling for wealth creation. I mean, almost everyone would want to key into it, but that's not the case. Even the Mebola that you see around that pick up some of these waste, go about and still dump them into the the drainage systems and every available space and all that. So I'm just curious to know what motivated you really and how you are coping.
Thank you so much for that question. So at the moment now, I would like to tell you first that we have 47 employees at Planet 3 Hub, and collecting this waste has not been an easy task at all. However, when you look at the problem and what you are trying to solve and the positive impact it's making in the society, the economic as well, imagine us sending our product abroad, exporting alone, making money, bringing those dollars and coming to change it in Nigeria. So it's a way to that one is a motivation too as well. However, one thing that has really helped us so far is the fact that, like Madam Victoria said earlier, is the fact that we've been able to find a way to, a strategic way to work with the manufacturers. So what do I mean by that? When you look at EPR, that is extended producer's responsibility. So all these manufacturers have been enforced, to make sure that they take this responsibility, they take up this responsibility. So we say that, okay, we can collect your waste, we can turn it into something creative, beautiful in the community. Let's work together, let's partner together. From the same waste that you are creating, let us create school bags, let us create conference bags from it. So you give it to schools, especially to students that cannot afford a very good bag. You give it to them for free. You pay us to make it. So it's a win-win. At the same time, it's taking away their waste from the environment. So, that's one of the things that we've been able to because, as much as one of the things, that's one of the reasons, when we started in the first place, I said that, okay, I don't just want to collect the waste and sell it off. How can we process it ourselves to make sure that it creates more opportunities for us here in Nigeria and not just collect waste and just sell it off, you understand? And, in a way, it has been helping us. At the moment now, we are partnering with an organization. I will not mention their name, but they too, they actually they manufacture all these, products that generate waste in the community. So they partner with us now. Aside from the fact that we are going to be using their waste, we are going to be empowering 1,050 women in Oyo State, Ibadan here. And they are making payment for everything. So all these kind of things are ways to aside from finding ways that, okay, creating awareness to collect those plastic bags that they put in the environment. They also make sure that, work hand in hand with the stakeholders, with the recyclers, making sure that, okay, how can we collect this, recover this, plastic bag, at the same time create opportunity for communities, for people that are collecting them, or the social, everybody at large. So that's one of the things that we are doing so far. So it's not something that has been easy from the beginning, I tell you. And, recycling, when people see it, is it lucrative, is this, is that. But you need to make sure that you find a strategic way to make sure that you partner with the stakeholders generally. At the moment now, we're working with Oyo State government. So these are the things that's really been helping us to make sure that we still stay in the business. We are making the relevant impact. And one of the things I always say is making sure that whichever business that you do, make sure that you take note and make sure that the 3 P's, you tackle the 3 P's, you ensure that you achieve the 3 P's. What do I mean by the 3 P's? The first P is people. Make sure that whatever you do is taking care of people, is taking care of, everybody around you. Then the second one is the planet. Make sure that it is taking care of the environment. That is the environmental impact. And the third one is profit. If it's not making money, it's not making sense. Because the only way for you to sustain that solution, to sustain that idea, is you making sure that, there's money that is coming in and you'll be able to stay in the business or stay in the project that you're doing. Thank you.
Girl, thank you. I would really love, when we come back from this break, if we could see the full length of the dress that you made from pure water, and then tell us if it's marketable. Tell us the value, because a lot of people would like to know that if you make some of these things from waste products, what is the market value of some of these things, because you need to make profit. Omar Ibadan, please, you will respond once we come back from this break.
Nigeria will only work based on collaboration. We need to start with a mindset shift. There needs to be a shift, in our mindsets to say we need to all see what we can do collaboratively to move Nigeria forward. Now, what am I saying? Without a doubt, this country is replete with talent. We've seen it across board. We've seen that Nigerians will find a way to try and make things work. How about we now bring that and we look to how we can scale it up? We need enabling environment from the government to be able to scale a lot of those things up. From the private sector, we need a private sector that's willing to unleash their own size, what they know how to do best, and collaborate with the government. Let's take access to finance. What are the limiting factors, and what do we need to be able to do to ensure that access to finance is not just at the top of the pyramid, but really trickles all the way down? Without a doubt, SMEs are the engine of any economy. A population of 200 plus million people. We need to find people who will be job creators, not everybody looking to apply for jobs. Some people must create the jobs. I'm particularly enthused at what I see as the young talent in Nigeria, of which there's so many of them. I'm enthused at what I see them doing. They get up and they decide, we will create the jobs. They're creating new markets. They're creating new sectors for us. Now, what does the federal government need to do? Simply enable that, and then give them room to run. Applaud when it's working. There are times perhaps when we must look at concessions to say, well, this is the intent. This is what we're trying to achieve. What do we need to put in place to help them? We will need to buy some time, without a doubt, to be able to see the reforms, bear fruit. And I'm very optimistic about Nigeria. I remain extremely optimistic about Nigeria. People talk about the Japa syndrome. Well, I Japa'd and I Japada'd. No, I didn't actually Japa, but I worked abroad and I came back. There are many stories that I found of people who worked abroad. We were doing really well, but we felt we had to come back to contribute. I believe that we must allow the innovation and the talent in this country come to the fore. If you look for the silver lining, you will find it. And therefore, what I think that Nigerians can do individually is this. Rather than us, sit in our different armchairs in our different living rooms across the country complaining, look at where you can plug in. There's a dearth of, whether it be volunteers or voices that both critique and proffer solutions. We need to redress that balance and look for a lot more who are willing to proffer solutions. I believe that there are many platforms by which people can contribute. It starts with us deciding, this is my country. I should have a say. I have something to add. I have something to contribute. And everybody does. The countries that are doing better than us across Africa, they don't have better people. They don't necessarily have better resources. They don't necessarily have better management. Perhaps they have a better followership where the laws have been laid down and people abide by it. Where, for example, you have decided collectively as a whole that we will be a nation that will be devoid of certain things, and people actually do deliver to that. I think that's what people should ask themselves. In their own corners where we cannot see them, are they doing those things that they're trying to hold government or private sector or CSO accountable?
You have to move from the point where you protect and defend your religion to a point where you also recognize the rights of the other person, of the religion, and protect it. So if I am protecting my own territory and my own people and trying to emphasize their rights and protect their rights, I should also be thinking about how to protect the rights of the others.
Both Islam and Christianity recognize and defer to God, and both recognize the temporariness of the life of this world, and that ultimately we all go back to God for the day of reckoning, when everybody will render an account of his life on this temporary abode.
All right, thank you for staying with us. This is still Good Morning Nigeria here on the network service of the NTA. We are still on that conversation, talking plastic pollution. And just before we went on this break, the Ibadan girl was going to show us what she's able to make from plastics. And I hope we can have it now.
Okay, thank you. So these are some products that we made from plastic. This is a just simple school bag. And one of the things that we even make sure that, we write a message on it so that it can motivate people when they just walk around, just to keep reminding them that, keep reminding us that we need to be part of the solution and not the pollution. So all these things are very important. And, making the fact that, it always encourages people when they see that, wow, you mean this waste that I'm about to throw away, that they can turn it into something that's beautiful. So it's, saying that there's an alternative or there's a solution that is being made from it, it's kind of, changing people's perspective and, just making them remember that, anytime they want to throw it away, they just remember, Planetary is doing something with this. These are some of the products that we made from them. Cross bag that people just carry around and everything simple like this. And one other thing, like I said, we've been able to have opportunities to showcase our products outside the country. Like earlier this year, we were one of the 3 Nigerians selected to go and showcase our products at UNESCO in France. And a lot of people were really impressed with the solution and the fact that, wow, these were actually made from waste, that they really love it. A lot of Igbo people, they just keep buying our products. And, selling all those things in foreign currency, you know how it is now. And recently, last 2 months, we were one of the 2 Africans selected to go and showcase our products at WTO in Switzerland. And, the DG was really impressed, and she even bought one of our backpack for our granddaughter. And, so it's actually been, it has not been easy. But like I said, there's one thing that I always say is that even though you are making a product from waste, make sure that it doesn't look like waste itself. Make sure that it is appealing. Make sure that it is what people will like. Because in as much as you're trying to create a solution, you're trying to solve a problem, you're trying to create a product, it has to be appealing. People need to want it. People want to use it, like be part of it. So those are one of the things that, that we've been able to put in place. That, let us make sure that this product, like this gown I'm wearing right now, is just the half part. Let me show you a little. Let me see if you can see it. So can you see? And all these remaining parts that you can see, it's actually woven. That's what we call ashoke. It's actually woven. So everything, this fabric that you're seeing right now, it is 100% made in Nigeria. So, all these things, like before, in those days, I grew up knowing that when we wear our uniform, the uniform that is being used in Nigeria, until we just stopped everything and we started importing everything. If government can actually help and other stakeholders too, let us bring back the way things used to be and, start creating, even if it's to find a way to make sure that promotes this skill that is already there and automate it to make it now bigger so that we too can be supplying the schools and even exporting as well. So all these things, we have what it takes to actually take Nigeria to a greater heights. But we just need government support. We need the stakeholder support. Yeah, thank you.
Right. Adejoke, just before we let you rest a bit, now, I'm just wondering, you've talked a lot about the gains of the business that you do, which is also environment friendly, but what are the challenges? What conditions need to be in place to encourage more people to get involved in the business? Talking about startups too.
In fact, if I may just add also, for those who would want to, take advantage of this opportunity, what do they need to do? Where do they go to? How do they even start?
Okay, thank you so much for that question. So one of the things that I see right now on, most of us, especially the young people, we are not patient. And, whatever you're trying to do, something good, it takes time. Like Doctor said, one of the speakers earlier, sustainable practice is actually, it is achievable, but it is a long-term plan. It is not something that you achieve immediately. Majority of us just want to because Adejoke Lasisi is doing well in the industry, we just want to start it, blue. They don't want to take their time and say, okay, this thing, let's keep doing it gradually. Let us plan towards it. Let us make sure that, when they now collect these waste for a month, 2 months, they now realize that, this thing is not bringing the fast money that they need, and, they just stop it. So one of the things I always encourage again is that making sure that you understand the business that you are going into first. For instance, somebody said that, I encourage people that, okay, even if the value chain is a long one, even if you are not the one converting these wastes into the end products, you can be collecting these wastes and be bringing it to the people that will eventually use it. So by encouraging people like this, they didn't understand and, think it through. They just feel like, wow, Adejoke has said something. One had to bring pure water sachet one day, and this was a long time. At that time, we were still buying 1 kg of pure water sachet at 18 naira. Do you know that he chartered Keke Napep and brought those nylons to us? The Keke Napep, he promised the Keke Napep 1,000 naira. And by the time we weighed the nylons that he brought, it was just 5 kg. So it was just 400 naira. So, a lot of things, a lot of times we are not, we don't understand or take our time to fully understand the industry we are going into. And not just recycling industry now, any other industry. Let us make sure that we do research. Let us make sure that we take our time so that we don't lose. Imagine 400 naira to 1,000 naira. You promise the Keke Napep 1,000 naira. So all these kind of things are very important, and this is one of the things that we just have to keep saying and keep encouraging people in the community to make sure that, okay, they do the right thing so that they will be able to get the right money, what they're supposed to get from it, so that they don't just, keep getting discouraged. Because when you do something and you keep losing money, you get discouraged in doing this. And again, we need more manufacturers to really work with recyclers out there. Work with us. We need you more. Make sure, and we need government to make sure that they enforce this EPR, especially on the manufacturers, extended producer responsibility, so that they take their responsibility of making sure that they are the ones creating these sachets everywhere. They are the ones creating this bottle everywhere. So they make sure that, okay, they find a way to take it back and use it to create even opportunity in the community. Thank you.
Right, Ibadan girl, thank you. Victoria, let's bring you in now. And I'm aware that big companies like Nestle and Coca-Cola are doing, quite, have initiatives to also help, recycle plastic. I'm just wondering, how and where do people start? What kind of collaboration? Sometime between 2020 and 2021, I understand that 3 countries, came together. I think Germany, Slovenia, and Portugal in a program they call Go Europe. Go Europe, and they also combined it with what they said was a kind of they said it's plastic pirates. They involved students in the whole in this campaign. That's what students have hands-on, on what plastic pollution, it's all about. What kind of model are you using to create awareness and to encourage people to do more plastic recycling, especially within the areas you operate?
Thank you very much. So for us at Nestle, part of what we want to see is a true circularity around our plastics packaging. Actually, that's a starting point for us. So what we want to see is a situation where we go from bottle to bottle, which means one bottle goes into the environment, it is properly segregated, it is brought back and is recycled, and we use that to produce another bottle. We want to see that full circularity, because that way we are ensuring that these materials are being removed from the environment. Now, what else are we doing? Of course, during your course of production, there are parts of the material that are cut off and all of that. So we have a zero waste to landfill policy, and we've achieved that process across our factories. So these materials actually go to an organization that uses it also within their production. So we're making sure that we're closing that loop. Now, when you talk about how do people get into this? So for collectors, we work with collectors in Abuja, recyclers in Abuja. We work with some in Lagos, 2 in Lagos, 1 in Abuja, and really getting through that to get to the aggregators who are within that value chain. Is a very long value chain, like Adejoke has mentioned. So there's a lot that goes in between that. So as responsible manufacturers, we know the exact volume of plastic that we put into the environment, and we're working to collect back exactly that volume. By December 2023, we had arrived at 100% neutrality, which means that every ton of plastic we put out, we collected that ton back. And we went way beyond that. This year, we've gone up to 170%. So not just stopping when we've achieved our own 100% neutrality. Why are we doing that? Because we are part of the Food and Beverage Recycling Alliance, which is the home of the EPR, the Extended Producer Responsibility. We're working together to ensure that we're creating an ecosystem. We've worked with government to ensure that the policies are well aligned and every thing that needs to be done is clear and responsibilities are assigned. So what we're doing now is to work on an ecosystem that enables that. We're incentivizing the collectors. We're ensuring that we're putting systems in place to ensure human rights within that system, because that's part of the sustainable practices. The first one is people. Ensuring that human rights are respected, ensuring that there's no child labor within that system, ensuring that this very informal system is formalized and brought into the mainstream so that everybody is sure that they're gaining a decent living and in a safe environment. And now the third step is to ensure that every manufacturer along the value chain, whether you're transforming it, whether you're collecting it, whether you're processing it, whether you're the one creating the preforms and all of that, you're involved within this, because we need everyone working together to ensure that we're closing all the loops along the value chain. Now, a key focus for us going into the next year, as we've looked at our plan, is to reinforce the communication, reinforce the awareness, and then really work behind the scenes to empower the whole ecosystem. So we're incentivizing, we're supporting, we're providing grants. We're doing quite a bit of work to ensure that we create this ecosystem, because we know that we can't go it alone. And that goal 17 is really super important when we think about this value chain. It has to be all around collaboration, and that's what we're making sure that we work on. So yes, Ecobata, Adejoke, is great to meet you. Maybe we'll have a chat after this, but we're working together to ensure that we're enabling that ecosystem. Thank you.
Taking you up on the communication, because indeed I was going to ask you. My colleague Victor restrained me. I was going to say that, I mean, we've not seen much of Nestle, using the media to drive, home this aspect of plastic, recycling, and this aspect of what you're doing. We feel that you very little on communication, using media to drive home this message. But you've said next year you want to up your communication game. So I'm going to hold you on that, Victoria. Okay, yes.
I want to say that we're working within the communities, because, I mean, some of the communities that need this information most, so to say, are not, some don't have access to the social media, some don't have access to TV, some don't have access at all. So what we actually go into these communities, and we are on the ground in the communities. We have our megaphones, we have our sacks, we're there in the field, and that is very needed. But that doesn't mean that media is not needed. So we'll come to you, and I know that part of your CSR as well, you will support us to ensure that we make it work. So thank you in advance for the collaboration.
That sounds like blackmail. but it's okay. Let's get to Dr. Asmau Ahmed. What else would you say needs to be done to set Nigeria straight? Whether it is government, whether it is the people, the communities, what more needs to be done just to get us on the right track to better managing plastic waste?
Well, coming from the academia, I would say we need the likes of Adejumoke of Planet 3 and Victoria from Nestle, who are the producers, and Adejumoke, who are now those who are converting wealth to be more in the country. If we have like the likes of Planet 3 in the whole of the country, then I think it will go a long way in trying to combat the menace of plastic pollution. Now, having seen that, having heard what Victoria said, it's time to partner with the universities and research institutions to come up with, to develop locally adaptable solutions to this plastic waste. With research conducted, we'll have different ways to which we can recycle this waste, and it will go a long way in trying to protect the environment, in producing eco-friendly materials, which we can also sell them as the like of Planet 3 is doing, which I think it's based on research, to be honest. So if we have funding from producing companies, from government organizations, we can have a funding body called, for example, National Plastic Pollution Research Funds, which can fund different institutions in the whole of the country to come up with locally adaptable solutions. I think it will go a long way in trying to curb this problem of plastics pollution in the country.
I don't know. Thank you, Doctor. I don't know how that will fit in well with the action roadmap, of course, from the Ministry of Environment. But Ibadan girl, quickly in just 60 seconds, what does that mean for you? How do you hope to leverage that action plan?
I just believe that, in as much as we do, like whatever we do, we just have to make sure that we find a way to reduce this waste, the way we use it. Fast fashion is on the rise. We're not even talking about not just plastic now, even the textile waste everywhere. So you just have to find a way to make sure that, we don't just pollute these environments. And one of the ways at which you can do it is to make sure that, more awareness is being created. We go to streets, we carry, we do community meetings with ballet, with landlords. Those are the ways at which we reach them more. And, you just have to make sure that we keep saying it, we keep doing the right thing. Doing the right thing is not easy, but we just have to we have to be deliberate about it and make sure that, making sure that, this waste, if you don't throw it away, if you gather it together, it can actually create opportunity and make money from you and for you. And when people know that, you can actually get money for what you want to do, that incentive alone, it's a booster. It's an encouragement for people, a lot of people, to not just throw their wastes in the environment, and not polluting the environment with this. At the moment, we all know that there's no way we can 100% stop with the use of plastic yet, because there's no alternative yet. And I'm very happy with the academia that is being on this space again, that day to day are actually doing something about it, making sure that they're looking for ways to get sustainable materials, eco-friendly materials, to make sure that these ones they can biodegrade in the environment, not the ones that will stay thousands of years. Okay. So
Ibadan girl, thank you. I just have a minute to round off, but I wish Dr. Abubakar Bahija, who is the Director Pollution for the Ministry of Environment, we had actually sent out an invitation to them, and they gave us their words, but unfortunately they're not here. They would have given us enough background to the action.
Perhaps it's not a priority.
We don't know what happened, but we only hope that the action roadmap, Victoria, I don't know if you are aware of this action roadmap, and just in 60 seconds tell us how you intend to leverage the partnership.
Call to creating this action roadmap, and I want to read out for us the 4 interventions that is within this action roadmap. Intervention 1: reduce the usage of plastic to restrict growth in the consumption of plastic-based materials. So there's going to be bans, of course, on some single-use materials that are not recyclable. System intervention 2: substitute plastics with compostable materials, which is where the research and all of that comes in, to ensure that we are really looking for more sustainable solutions going into the future. Intervention 3, expand plastic waste collection and recycling to increase recycling rate and reduce mismanaged plastics. And then the fourth intervention on that roadmap is to expand safe disposal measures to reduce the leakage of non-recyclable plastics into the environment. So that covers the ecosystem end to end. And there are specific actions that are going to be taken within these system interventions to make sure that we're succeeding. And we're a core part of making this work. And I can tell you on behalf of the Ministry of Environment that we're very committed to it. Every stakeholder was carried along in developing this, apart from the consumer, which awareness needs to happen. And we'll make sure that it works between now and the year 2030. Thank you very much.
All right, Victoria Wadoka, we thank you very much for your time on the program. And of course, we hope to see you, see more of you in the field with the consumers that you have already admitted that are not carried along enough, and of course with the media. So Victoria Wadoka is Corporate Communications, Public Affairs and Sustainability Lead at Nestle Nigeria. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
All right, let's also thank Dr. Asmau Ahmed, who is Acting Director, Center for Climate Change and Geographical Information Science at the Kaduna State University. Thank you very much for your perspective on the program.
Thank you so much for having me.
But by no means the least, Adejoke Lasisi, founder and CEO, Planet 3R, who is also known as Ibadan Girl. Claire added Omo Ibadan. Okay. Well, thank you very much for bringing the sauce. Thank you for your time on the program.
All right. So while we end the program today, let me begin to pack my plastics.
And I wonder how you are going to, I'll be watching closely how you are going to dispose
hopefully
of all of it.
I will reach Ibadan Girl to see what good use I will put this, hopefully, and make some money. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
All right, I'm Victor Azo. Tomorrow is another day. Let's do it again.